2024 produced an equine fan favorite.
This brilliant filly's going to take them all the way. Torpedo Anna, what a year for her.
Torpedo Anna takes them gate to wire in the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff.
A record-breaking riding achievement.
His 56th graded stakes victory, an all-time record for Flavien Prat.
And a showdown in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Forever Young on the far outside. Sierra Leone, fierceness digs in. Newgate, Forever Young. Sierra Leone close to home. Sierra Leone does it in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Today, we meet the finalists for the 54th Annual Resolute Racing Eclipse Awards. For those announcements, here are Dave Weaver and Caleb Keller.
And what a year it was in 2024. The horses did their job, the jockeys did their job, the trainers did their jobs. Now it's up to the voters to decide who the champions are going to be and ultimately who the horse of the year will be for the 54th Eclipse Awards presented by Resolute Racing. That'll be taking place on Thursday, January the 23rd in Palm Beach, Florida. But today we learn the 16 different categories, both equine and human, as far as who the three choices will be for the voters. Let's start, and I'll bring Caleb Keller in to unveil each of these divisions. Caleb, let's start with the 2-year-old males.
Dave Weaver soon to be on the Kentucky Derby Trail, and you look at the three finalists. All three finalists were Grade 1 winners coming into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but Citizen Bull got the last laugh. He became the dual Grade 1 winner. Now, one noticeable absence, East Avenue. After the troubled start, he finished 9th out of 10. He went from the favorite in this category to not even being a finalist. But this one looks to be pretty straightforward. They all had one Grade 1 coming in, but Citizen Bull got the dual Grade 1 victory there in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, the winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile typically would win that award by default. And will that be the case this year as well with the 2-year-old fillies? Because we do have the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Champion as one of the nominees, correct?
And how about this group, Dave Weaver, for the 2-year-old fillies? This group of three has 13 races. They won all 13. These are 3 undefeated horses. Good Cheer, 4 for 4s, won by 30-plus lengths. Immersive, 4 for 4, won the Breeders' Cup. And then Lake Victoria, some thought was the lock of the Breeders' Cup, winning the Juvenile Fillies turf. So this whole group has 0 losses between them. 2 Brad Cox plus an Aiden O'Brien. Really nice star-studded group for the 2-year-old fillies.
In the 3-year-old male category, there really was not a dominant horse from start to finish. They kind of all took their turns as the year went along. Who are the 3 finalists?
Well, Dave, to allude to your point, this is the most evenly matched in terms of resume. All 3 of these horses, Dornoch, Fierceness, and Sierra Leone, they all have 3 wins and 2 Grade 1s. Fierceness probably had the most smashing win in the Florida Derby. Dornoch probably had the most gutty wins on the lead in the Belmont and the Haskell. And then Sierra Leone was the one that got the spoils in the Breeders' Cup Classic, our biggest purse all year in America.
We'll now move to the 3-year-old filly division. I know one of the names is going to be on this list, but tell me the other 2 that will be with Torpedo Anna.
Yes, we know that Torpedo Anna is going to be 1 to a million to win this category. 5 Grade 1s on the year for Torpedo Anna. But Cinderella's Dream, she won the Belmont and Saratoga Oaks and just missed in the Breeders' Cup to the older Moira, and then She Feels Pretty. She came along in a big way late in the year. One of the biggest margins of victory in the QE2, the Grade 1 Aquila, and then she smashed there in the American Oaks at Santa Anita.
All right, now let's start to get into some of the older horses. We'll start here with the older dirt male. Caleb, it didn't seem like we really had a great horse this year in that division.
I think that, Dave, when you look at the juveniles, it seems pretty straightforward on some of the results. The older categories, I think, really makes it worth tuning into to see who wins an event like this. Full Serrano was 2nd in the Pacific Classic. He had that amazing allowance win, fresh in to America, and then won the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. National Treasure, we didn't get to see him late in the year. He was defeated in the California Crown Grade 1 stakes. He did not go to the Breeders' Cup, but National Treasure early in the year won the Grade 1 Pegasus, won the Met Mile, and then Straight No Chaser. He got it rolling big time late. He won the Santa Anita Sprint Championship and, of course, concluded the year with the Breeders' Cup Sprint Championship.
Yeah, it's certainly rare for a sprinter to be the older dirt male, but it's not something that we've never seen before. Let's move on to the females. Older dirt female. Who are the 3 finalists?
Well, we're going to see a horse like Raging Sea, who was very consistent throughout the year, did get one Grade 1 win in the personal instant. Our reigning champion, Idiomatic, and Adair Manor. It was disappointing that neither of these horses could run in the Breeders' Cup Distaff versus Torpedo Anna. Not easy to pick from, Adair Manor and Idiomatic. Yes, Idiomatic was the reigning champion. They both had 3 wins, although Adair Manor got the Grade 1 Apple Blossom win, and Adair Manor had 2 Grade 1 wins, whereas Idiomatic held serve in Kentucky. She won the La Troyenne there on Derby weekend and then easily won the Spinster in the fall from Keeneland. Tough to decide because Adair Manor and Idiomatic, they were basically the best 2 older fillies the year before, and they have almost an identical resume this year.
All right, let's shorten up in distance here in top sprinters. We already saw Straight No Chaser on the list of older dirt males, so clearly he's going to be one of the finalists for male sprinters, but this is a really stacked list, I'm assuming.
Definitely a tough category to select from. You know, the Chosen Vron, he's becoming an all-time California bred. He actually defended his championship in the Grade 1 Bing Crosby. And then this is usually a category that almost always goes to a dirt horse. Straight No Chaser, again, showing that elite talent in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. But Cogburn, he didn't fire his best there in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. But Cogburn, you know, he set a world record, essentially, in the Jaipur. 5.5 furlongs in under 1 minute. We really had not seen a time like that. Cogburn had an amazing long body of work on the turf, but the dirt horses usually get the spoils here, and Straight No Chaser is the one that proved he was the best sprinter at the end of the year.
I think if Cogburn wins the turf sprint, he's a slam dunk to get that, but now it opens it up a little bit more. What about on the female side? Female sprinter finalists, please.
Okay, so all these horses have 1 Grade 1 win. As a matter of fact, Society, she only had 1 win on the year, but she really got her money's worth there in the Ballerina. Soul of an Angel was the upset winner of the filly and mare sprint, and then the Ways and Means was an uber talent there for Chad Brown. Now, you might say, well, Soul of an Angel, they're just gonna go recency bias, but look at it a little bit closer. All 3 of these horses had 1 Grade 1 win, but Soul of an Angel had the most wins. She had 4 wins, and don't forget, the race before she won the Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint, she zoomed right past Beth's Dream. And to that point, Beth's Dream was the best horse going at Gulfstream Park. She had a long winning streak. Soul of an Angel went right on by her and then gave Drayden Van Dyke and Saffie Joseph their first Breeders' Cup win.
All right, let's switch surfaces here and move to the turf. Boy, Caleb, the male turf handicap division this year was absolutely stacked. Who are the 3 finalists?
Well, our man Rebels Romance, he came back to not necessarily defend his Breeders' Cup Turf Championship because he won it 2 years ago, but Rebels Romance becomes a 2-time winner of the Breeders' Cup Turf. He also won the big Group 1 there on Dubai World Cup night. Carl Spackler, you know, he was really going so well at Saratoga and at Keeneland, had big stakes wins there. And then Johannes. Johannes just missed in the Breeders' Cup Mile. And in terms of horse for course, Johannes was the best horse for course this year. If you look at him as Santa Anita, he punctuated this season by going 7 for 7 lifetime at Santa Anita, and he just missed winning the Breeders' Cup Mile at Del Mar. So some hardy milers here, and then a long-distance horse for Rebels Romance. Not an easy category to pick.
Yeah, I love that division, and I'm assuming that the female turf horse category is going to be equally as tough. Who are the finalists?
Okay, so when we look at the female turf category, again, Cinderella's Dream had a really nice season. Won 2 stakes races up in New York and then nearly won the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf. Moira, she's always been a top class horse. Moira got 2 big ones. Of course, the filly and mare turf, but also the Beverly D. You know, that Beverly D, which is now run at Colonial, it's been a big prestigious race for the category over the years. And then She Feels Pretty. They opted not to go to the Breeders' Cup. They didn't necessarily have the right timing, but when she won the QE2, that's one of the biggest margins of victory in that Grade 1. Then she came out and absolutely smashed this Grade 1 American Oak. So Moira was the older class. Cinderella's Dream was the formerly raced Great Britain horse, and then She Feels Pretty really did her best work in the final 3 months of the year.
Yeah, she certainly got hot towards the end of the year for Cherie DeVoe. Now everybody's favorite division, Caleb, the steeplechasers.
Now, what happens with the steeplechasers, a horse like Carloon, you could break your maiden for the thoroughbreds on the flats, but when you go to the hurdles, you need to break your maiden again. So Carloon actually started the year as a maiden over the hurdles and then concluded with a Group 1 victory. La Imperator, here's a horse that won on Grade 1 Belmont Day, won the Grade 1 there over the hurdles, but Snap Decision was the one that had a whole host of a Group 1 and Grade 1 victories here for the top connections over the hurdle. So if you're unfamiliar, looks like Snap Decision based on the resume is going to be the big favorite in this spot.
Okay, that'll take care of the equine divisions. Let's move on to the humans, and we'll start with the owners. Who are the 3 owners that will be considered as a finalist this year, Caleb?
Well, it's a long run of success for the Blue Jackets of Godolphin. They've actually won the last 4 straight ownership awards, and looks like they're going to win it here again. I'm pretty excited for Juddmonte moving into the new year. They've got a real nice 3-year-old prospect that I'm excited about. They had the reigning champion, Idiomatic, who might get another championship honors. And then Klarovich, the longtime great partner with Chad Brown. They do such good work, whether it be on the turf or on the dirt, but really hard to go up against the royalty that is the Blue Jackets of Godolphin, looking for their 5th straight Owners Award. All
right, some very familiar names there in the owner category. What about the breeders? Is it old hat, or is there a new shooter that has joined the mix?
Well, Godolphin again, they've won the last 3 Breeders' Award, and they're going to be the big favorite to win the 4th one in a row. Love to see, Judy Hicks here, not on the huge global frame of breeders like Godolphin or from the American landscape of Calumet, but congratulations to Judy Hicks getting here as a finalist. Godolphin, the big favorite, and then Calumet. They pulled one of the best upsets of the year. Mixto won the FanDuel Pacific Classic there in upset fashion. Calumet recently has been kind of, known for being willing to take shots here in these big races, and it paid off in a big way with the Grade 1 Pacific Classic. But Godolphin going to add another one to the trophy cabinet.
All right, there are 2 different jockey awards. There's the overall jockey and then there's apprentice jockey. Let's just start with the jockeys. What a year it was for so many of these ladies and gentlemen that go in the saddle. Who are the 3 finalists?
Well, Irad Ortiz Jr. has absolutely dominated this category as he has won 6 of the last 7. The only time that he didn't win was in 2021. Joel Rosario was able to win, but Irad has been the top contender in this category. Tyler Gaffleone just wins like every meet in Kentucky at this point. I think one day he's going to win, but Flavian Pratt, he wanted to move to Saratoga in the summer to go up against his arch nemesis to try to win this award. And as we saw, Flavian Pratt basically set all kinds of records this year. Stakes wins, graded stakes wins, biggest spots, Breeders' Cup Classic. So, assuming that Flavian Pratt will win this award, as most people are expecting with that incredible year, this will be the first ever championship for Flavian.
Well, at one point, they were all apprentices, and they probably remember that first year of riding. What about this year's group of apprentice jockeys? Who are our 3 finalists?
We'll go back and look at a long history of success here for the apprentice. Look no further than the fact that this year's winner of the Kentucky Derby, Brian Hernandez Jr., he won this award back in 2004 as the top apprentice. And Eric Asmussen here, he came along big time in the second half of the racing season. Gabriel Maldonado, I followed him, especially riding at Florida. This is a really aggressive rider. I loved how Gabriel Maldonado was getting out of the gate. And then J.G. Torrealba, I mean, this guy has been all across the country. We've seen him at Del Mar. We've seen him on the East Coast. We've seen him in the Midwest. And one thing that we know about the Apprentice Awards, if you're going to be a young rider getting weight, you got to be aggressive out of the blocks. And all 3 of these contenders are just that.
All right, there is one more category left to the reveal, and that will be the trainers. Who are the finalists?
This one's going to be a really good one. We know that Chad Brown gives amazing numbers every year. Brad Cox, I think, was probably the most consistent from January 1 to December 31st, and then Kenny McPeak. Kenny owned the Spring Classics, one of the only trainers in history to win both the Derby and the Oaks. And keep in mind for Kenny McPeak, coming into this year, things had eluded him. He'd never won a Derby. He'd never won an Oaks, and he'd never won a Breeders' Cup. All 3 of those taken care of in 2024. Not the easiest one to pick from, because Brad Cox and Chad Brown do have better overall numbers with more runners, but Kenny really had so many standout horses. So this is one of the glamour awards here and not easy to pick from.
All right, so we know who the finalists are, and on Thursday, January the 23rd, we'll know who the winners are. But not everybody gets to vote on the Eclipse Awards, but everybody watching right now gets to vote on the NTRA Moment of the Year. So check it out, FanDuel Racing NTRA Moment of the Year. Here are your options, and it's not just 3 like we had in the Eclipse categories. What do we have here? Let's see.
Well, Frankie 6 straight. Frankie famously, this was years ago, actually kind of more like decades ago, but Frankie had a day where he won every race in Europe, which is quite amazing. Torpedo Anna, hashtag Anna Oaks. I was awesome winning through the rain. Mystic Dan, he didn't mind a little rain from the track, saved over from earlier. Seized the Gray made a lot of people happy. And then how about Dornick? Long shot odds, 17-1, wired him in the Belmont.
Oh, we got 10 choices. There's a whole nother page.
Emma Jane Wilson, she has been an absolute beast in the saddle for a long time, and she breaks the record for female jockey career earnings. Congratulations to her. Fiercest in the Travers, Dave Weaver. It's hard to argue that the Travers wasn't the race of the year. Fierceness, Torpedo Anna, and Sierra Leone in that trifecta. And then Anna made it look easy there in the distaff.
All right, go to NTRA.com and you can vote. You still have a little bit of time. As a matter of fact, you got about a week and a half to cast your votes there for the FanDuel Racing NTRA Moment of the Year. So those are our final. What was your, did you have a favorite moment? It doesn't even have to be one of those 10.
I hate to be straightforward, but Dave, it was the Kentucky Derby. If you look at the Derby this year with that 3-horse photo, the last time that we had a nose photo was 1996, and that was when Grindstone won. But in our 150th rendition, the last time that we had a 3-horse photo, 1947. So that Derby lived up to everything, and then some. Dave, how about you?
I didn't, my eyes are too bad to even have seen the list. I'm just going to go to NTRA.com and cast my own vote.
One thing that is very important when you look at the list of contenders, the classification of races. Okay, we know grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. Well, why is that graded system so important? Well, one of the reasons is for this exact exercise. Because when you look at these horses, they've won all the best races, but then you have to look how many grade 1s did they win. And when you have to pick between 3 talented horses, a lot of times they go to who had the most grade 1 wins, and no horse in America had more grade 1 wins this year than Torpedo Anna. She had 5.
All right, well, join us because we'll be there for the Eclipse Awards as well. Thursday, January the 23rd from Palm Beach, Florida, the 54th Annual Eclipse Awards presented by Resolute Racing. Thanks for tuning in for our announcements of the finalists. When we come back here on FanDuel TV, we'll dive into the racing. We've got the opener coming up from Gulfstream.